So good evening all. I'm Ashwati Shinoy, Brand Manager, Urgo Medical. It is our pleasure to have DFU educational webinar today that also from the DFU expert, Dr. Arun Bal. And I can also say that he's the DFU expert across the global. Welcome, sir, to the speaker panel. And I'd like to welcome Dr. Sudatta. He's Assistant Professor, General Surgery Department, Nair Hospital. And I welcome Emilio Galia, our International Medical Director, Urgo Medical. He is going to act as moderator today for our educational webinar. And we are very happy to welcome all the participants who joined with us to learn from both the speakers. Now, I would like to request Pratik Vide to deliver our corporate concept and also to speak about our mission in DFU.
Thank you, Ashwati. Thanks a lot, first of all, Dr. Bal. We are really privileged to digitally host you today. And Dr. Sudatta Wagmare for joining hands and really collaborating on this webinar. We are really glad to collaborate on the subject of diabetic foot ulcer, which is very close to us. I would quickly like to take us through our mission in diabetic foot ulcers. What exactly is our company and what is our cause in diabetic foot ulcers? Yes, I hope my screen is visible.
It's coming on.
All good?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So first to tell all the participants who we are. We are Urgo Medical India. Previously in the country, we used to be known as UCare Pharmaceuticals, a company that was established in 1996. Since 2016, there was a joint venture between UCare and Urgo co-promoting the products together. And since 2019, UCare is a part of Urgo Group, really fully integrated with a global large organization. And if we speak a bit more about who we are, just to flash before that, I would like to tell you that you must have been using our products, Biofilm A and Collagen, since many years. And I hope you had successful cases and a positive feedback with these two products. Furthermore, since the last 2 or 3 years, we also launched new technologies in the Indian market, particularly on the core of TLC technology, which proliferates fibroblast by moist wound healing concept. And as well as is traumatic and pain-free for the patients. And in the future, we are launching many more products with this core concept. To speak a bit more about our company, who we are and what is our vision and mission. So who we are Urgo Medical India, and we claim that we are the company that heals people. And we actually are the advanced wound care specialist all across the world with a special missions. Our first mission is healing people suffering from wounds worldwide. And our second mission is to make a difference by helping healthcare professionals to heal their patients through different initiatives. How do we go about achieving our missions? So this is what I would like to talk about more today, is what is our philosophy of achieving our mission. The first pillar of our philosophy is putting patients at the heart. We like to think of ourselves as the company that does not heal the wound itself only, but who heals the patient suffering from the wound. And that is reflected in what offerings we bring to you, what projects we bring. It is really a very fundamental thing for us that putting patients at the heart is important part of our innovation and our care. The second important pillar of our missions is caring for caregivers. All over the world, where Urgo Medical is established since many years, as well as now in India, we have strong partnerships with healthcare professionals and scientific bodies. And we have very strong educational programs in place that will help to support healthcare professionals and improve the care and improve the quality of life for their patients. The third pillar we have is leading with science. We are a company that invests a lot in R&D for making breakthrough innovations for different wound care products. But on top of that, we also deliver robust clinical evidence. We believe a lot in evidence-based medicine so that the SCPs are feeling confident about the evidence that they have and are able to use best-in-class products on their patients to give the best treatments. If I were to talk about each of these pillars in detail, first I would like to talk about putting patients at the heart. Diabetic foot ulcer is a very important cause for us. It's almost a global pandemic as well, even if not the same as COVID. And it's a shocking fact that every 20 seconds, a limb is lost somewhere in the world as a consequence of diabetes. Many of us maybe don't even know it, that it's so grave, such a grave consequence. And just in our country alone, we have more than 700 lakh diabetic patients in India with an approximate risk of DFU being 25%. I believe Dr. Sudatta Wagmare will speak more about this in coming minutes, about the detailed burden of diabetic foot ulcers in India. On our side, what we are doing next year is we are launching an awareness campaign in India, closely collaborating with SCPs and associations called Save Feet, Save Lives. And I would really like to invite all the participants of this meeting to be our partners in launching this awareness campaign mission. The second point I would like to talk about is caring for caregivers. All over the world, we have successfully done partnership projects in collaboration with healthcare professionals and bodies. Since the last few years in Europe, we have been working with some associations for developing the fast track pathway for diabetic foot ulcer referral. And it has been successfully deployed in some countries like UK, Spain, France, and Italy. More closer to home in Asia Pacific, we have an initiative called Urgo Education and Training Alliance, which is certified by UMA Wounds International. Luckily for us, the director of this program is with us in the call today, our moderator, Emilio Gallia. Emilio, could you just throw some light further on Urgo Education and Training Alliance, please?
Yes, thank you, Pratik. Basically, the Education and Training Alliance is a not-for-profit. We provide education totally free of cost anywhere. Obviously, at the moment, we're doing it mostly remotely. We assist also clinicians to do academic writing. So we help clinicians to do write-ups of case studies, case series, whatever is needed, obviously, including the Urgo products. And as Pratik said, we have a module-based program, which is endorsed and accredited by the European Wound Management Association, by Wounds International, the Australian College of Nursing, and now lately also by the Singaporean Nursing Association.
Thank you, Emilio. So indeed, we are very excited to roll out different initiatives together with HCPs in India as part of the Urgo Education and Training Alliance, and we look forward to future educational webinars under this banner as well. The third point I want to talk about is leading with science. I already spoke that we believe a lot in clinical evidence, and the numbers speak for themselves. We are a company that has done more than 80 clinical trials and observational studies all over the world, and some are already in progress on more than 65,000 patients. More importantly, they are published in respectable scientific journals. Here is an example screenshot of a recent publication in the Journal of Wound Care. As well as what I want to speak about is one of our proudest accomplishments is the Explorer double-blind RCT study on diabetic foot ulcer product Urgostat, which was published in the Lancet Journal of Diabetes and Endocrinology, which is unprecedented because never before had a advanced wound care product been published in the Lancet. So it is really a testimony of our investment on clinical evidence. And of course, in terms of product offerings as well, to India, we are bringing products which are more specialized in chronic wounds such as diabetic foot ulcers. This year in 2020, we are launching UrgoClean AG, and very soon you will see the product out in the market. As you can see, all across the pyramid of evidence, UrgoClean AG has the highest level of proof, starting from in vitro studies right up to well-validated randomized control trials. Next year in 2021, specifically for diabetic foot ulcer, again, we are going to bring a product called Urgostat, which is again proven all across the pyramid of evidence and is the only wound dressing that has been validated, that has been mentioned in the IWGDF guidelines for local wound healing interventions. So it is again a very proud accomplishment for us, and we are very excited and eager to bring this to patients in India. And last but not the least, I would like to say thank you for giving us this opportunity to explain our mission and to talk about ourselves. We are really motivated and driven about diabetic foot ulcer. It is a topic which is close to our heart. So we would like to join hands with you for further education, further awareness, and make a difference together. So thanks a lot. And with that, I will end my quick talk and hand over to our moderator today, Emilio Gallia, who is our International Medical Director at Urgo Medical Asia Pacific and Middle East. Emilio is a MSc in Skin Integrity and has many years of experience as a wound clinician. And as you saw earlier, he's the director of our Urgo Education and Training Alliance. So over to you, Emilio.
Thank you very much, Pratik. I won't take too much time because we have two very good speakers, which I'm sure that will take all the interest. So we will start firstly with Dr. Sudata, who's an associate professor at the Department of Surgery at Niger Hospital. And he was also awarded the Dr. Gurpa Traveling Fellowship in 2018. So Dr. Sudata will share with us some information and data regarding the diabetic foot burden in India. Over to you, Dr. Sudata.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Emilio. Good evening, everyone. It gives me a great pleasure to collaborate with Urgo Medical on educational webinar on diabetic foot. Diabetic foot is most important and dreadful complication of diabetes mellitus. I express my gratitude to Urgo Medical India for providing me this opportunity. I also express my sincere thanks to Dharup sir and Bal sir for their guidance. Number of people with diabetes in India is increasing at very rapid pace. If same continues, India is set to become diabetes capital of world. Look at the number. The International Diabetes Federation reported the number of people with diabetes in India was approximately 366 million in the year 2011. The number is going to increase exponentially to the approximately number of 552 millions by year 2030. Now, why this number is important? Because as a foot surgeon, we need to examine the double foot of this number. The prevalence of foot ulcer in diabetes in India is 3%, and the lifetime risk of developing ulcer in this foot is 25%. Various studies are done on Indian population to find out the demographic profile and the risk factors of diabetic foot ulcer. These observations are as follows. Diabetic foot ulcer is more common in males as compared to females with a ratio of 3:1. The patient with type 2 diabetes mellitus are affected more. Age more than 60 years is another prevalent factor. The duration of diabetes mellitus, if more than 10 years, it has prone to develop diabetic foot ulcer. In these ulcers, neuropathic ulcers are common. World Health Organization defines the diabetic foot in very comprehensive manner. The foot of a diabetic patient that has the potential risk of pathologic consequences, including infection and destruction of deeper tissues with neurological abnormalities associated with various degrees of peripheral vascular disease and metabolic complications in the lower. Diabetic foot does not occur spontaneously. It is a very complex and multifactorial mechanism, but the basic is a triad of neuropathy, vasculopathy, and prolonged hyperglycemia. Various factors are responsible for the complications in the patients of diabetes. These are the intrinsic factors and extrinsic factors. The intrinsic factors are bony prominences, limited joint mobility, callus formation, and the history of previous foot ulcer. India is a country with diverse culture, religious practices, and beliefs. So these are the various extrinsic factors that cause development of ulcer in the patients of diabetes. Walking barefoot, walking on a fire, improper footwear, either the footwear is too tight, too loose, wearing high heel sandals. The lack of knowledge regarding foot care. Most of the patient doesn't know what is the standard diabetic foot care that is to be taken. These are control of blood sugar levels with treatment compliance, inspect feet regularly, wash with the water with appropriate temperature. The water should not be too hot or too cold. The feet should be dried immediately after washing. The application of moisturizer to prevent dryness. No access to proper healthcare facilities. Patients of diabetes mellitus belongs to medium or low economic strata, so they hardly get any chance to access to a proper healthcare facility. Then attitude and behavior. Diabetic foot does require supervised care. Most of the patients tend to neglect superficial ulcer, which leads to worse health. Then non-compliance to dosage of oral hypoglycemic agent or insulin, non-compliance towards antibiotics, the duration of the antibiotics, the non-compliance towards offloading devices, and not following for the follow-up visits. Approximately 85% of non-traumatic limb amputations are seen in patients with prior history of diabetic foot ulcer. In the world, more than 1 million patients lose at least a part of limb due to diabetic foot. Means limb is lost every 30 seconds in the world somewhere. The number is alarming in India too. Approximately 45,000 legs are amputated per year in India, of which 70 to 80% of amputations are preventable. After major amputation, half of the patient have other limb amputation within 2 years. See the mortality rates. After unilateral amputation, the mortality rates are very high. These are ranging from 30 to 40% within 1 year, 35 to 65% within 3 years, and reaches up to 80% in 5 years. These mortality rates are worse than malignancies. The patient also has a social and physical incompliance, so he could not achieve his daily activities without a caregiver. What is the financial burden of amputation on a patient? A patient with diabetes and foot ulcer has to spend four times more as compared to patient without foot ulcer. It may account for 40% of healthcare resources available. The loss of productivity may lead to out-of-pocket expenditure through undesirable means. That is personal savings, getting loans, selling land, house. Thank you everyone. I would like to hand over this webinar to Mr. Emilio, the medical director, international medical director, Urgo Medical. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sudhata. We have a question from our dear friend and colleague, Dr. Sanjay Bhupal. I can give you a small answer to that one, which is why is male higher in that is our proof that when you're a man, you are sweeter. So now we have scientific proof that we are very sweet, at least in our blood. So the question, Dr. Sanjay, is there any particular reason why there is a 3-to-1 ratio male to female?
Usually males are prone, they work outside. Most of the females are housewives. So that is another factor that we should look for. And this data is done, the survey is done in India.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, Dr. Sudhata. So it is now my honor and my privilege to introduce to you Dr. Arun Bal, who I know doesn't need any introduction. He's a consultant diabetic foot surgeon at Fortis and Hinduja Hospital in Mumbai. He is currently the president of the Diabetic Foot Society in India and a board member of the Association of Diabetic Foot Surgeons in Denmark. He is the part of the international VP of the International Surgical Society from Limb Salvage and also the course director for fellowship in diabetic foot surgery in Maharashtra Health University. So without further ado, I give over the control of this webinar to you, Dr. Arun Bal. Thank you very much.
I have my screen. Okay, good afternoon. Thank you, Pratik, Ashwati, and Emilio for inviting me. What I intend to do a little faster in that 35 minutes is to give you an overview of this topic. See, India is in the epicenter of diabetes quake. This is the current phase of diabetes in India. When you go to any hospital, at least where diabetic patients are admitted, 34–40% of them are for the foot problem. So beautiful feet like this, when diabetes strikes, this is what happens, and we need to understand why it happens and prevent it. So we have 74 million diabetic patients as of today, whatever statistics available. This is the IDF statistics of 2019. So we have 148 feet to look after. Annually, we have 200,000 higher level amputation. The point is 85% of these higher level amputations are because of infected neuropathic ulcers, and they are completely preventable. The cost of prevention is very low. And we need to understand foot ulcer in diabetes is complication of medical disease. It's not primary or surgical disease like hernia, hydrocele, appendix, and pathobiomechanical changes due to advancing peripheral neuropathy, the main etiological factor, along with non-enzymatic glycation, which changes the characteristic of all connective tissue. So regular periodic physical examination of lower extremity to risk stratify the patient is one of the best and important primary prevention strategy. So this is a dictum we must remember: what you cannot measure, you cannot manage. So these are the equipments all of us know. This is a Semmes-Weinstein filament, tuning fork, vibrometer, biosthesiometer, and goniometer to see the biomechanics of the foot. So what is this? I'm focusing more on a neuropathy because 85% problems are neuropathic. So this is a normal walking cycle, what we learned in the first MBBS physiology and anatomy. So you can see that this is a propulsion stage, and this is how we walk. This is a central heel strike axis of walking, and pressure is absolutely steady along the second metatarsal second toe. In the diabetes, there is a muscle weakness, loss of sensory input, intrinsic muscles are weak, so foot falls either in a pronation or it falls in a supination, and that is why foot is very unstable as the neuropathy progresses and patient loses the sensory input and motor control. So you have a peak plantar pressure at the time of takeoff in every human being, right from the early age to the old age, is about 600 kilopascals, which is a huge pressure. To give you an idea what is the high pressure at the with 600 kilopascals, and with the 6 kilopascals, you will find that the whole capillary circulation is shut off. So every human foot undergoes this anoxia ischemia, but there is an instant recovery. That instant recovery is delayed because of a diabetes, hyperglycemia, non-enzymatic glycation. A delayed recovery means inflammation, warmth, erythema, which are the very great importance in prevention, because you teach the patient to feel with the back of hand. At the end of the day, 4 foot, if it is a warmer, he has walked, he has reached this stage. If he keeps on walking, next stage in physiological cascade is an exudate which manifests as a blister and which will break down and form an ulcer. So if testing the temperature of the 4 foot plantar aspect every day evening is one of the most important preventive step. If the temperature is higher than rest of the foot or the leg, patient has to take a lot of care. So second point I want to make is that most of the physicians and whole medical field says that patient has a sensory motor neuropathy as if it is a one component. These are two separate components, may not run parallelly in progression. So sensory neuropathy causes loss of sensation, inability to feel, increased pressure, loss of position sense, and change walking pattern and hyperpronation. While you find that motor neuropathy causes muscle imbalance, weakness, deformity, change walking pattern, hyperpronation, and increased ground contact time at a first MTP joint. So the foot in a diabetic patients with a neuropathy remains on the ground at a first MTP for a longer time. And then this is a biomechanical factor which ultimately breaks the skin, known as the impulse loading, which is pressure multiplied by the ground contact time. The moment it starts crossing 500 kilopascals, you will find that the first MTP skin starts becoming harder. It forms a callus and breaks down. So diabetic foot ulcer is a biomechanical problem, and no amount of antibiotics and dressing will heal it unless you offload the pressure bearing area, and repetitive moderate force of routine unprotected walking in the presence of advancing neuropathy can damage the feet in diabetes. So foot is a very energy efficient machine. Normal person doesn't get a cons and calluses. It is when the muscles become weak and the bones change the position, this is what happens. So simple preventive step per year, if you take this simple X-ray, and you will find there is a gap between first and second cuneiform. Anatomically, there is no gap. And if you draw the lines like this, and this angle C is known as angle of adductus primus in podiatry, which is normally 3 to 4 degrees. That's why goniometer I showed is important to measure this angle. If you measure once a year, if it is widening, that means foot is going to collapse. This is a normal load triangle of the foot. Normal way to, in the presence of hyperglycemia, increasing sensory motor neuropathy, and patient walking without footwear or incorrect footwear, the weight bearing shifts to the midfoot and foot collapses. The another thing which happens is, as I said, foot is a very biomechanical structure. Normally there is a fulcrum is a joint, pulley is a gastrocnemius soleus. 2/3 of the foot is in front of the fulcrum. When you do a 4-foot amputation and then reduce the length of the foot, the strength of the pulley remains same and foot goes into plantar flexion. Patient starts walking on a small area which breaks. So it needs a tendon balancing. So wound dressing in diabetic foot management. Diabetic wound management is a multidisciplinary management. So you need a good team. So these are various statistics, as all of us know, that IDSA classification shows that what happens when there is no team. Also, the mortality due to infected diabetic ulcer or peripheral vascular disease is very high. It is next to only top 2 or 3 malignancies, and this requires a very aggressive team management. So this is one statistics which shows that when you have a team, the amputations are very much reduced. And these are various studies from long time, 1999 till 2006. What are the importance of the team? So these are exudating wounds which we see routinely in India. I'm not sure whether these are seen abroad in Europe and America. So to prevent amputation, what we need is early closure of the wound, and healing is equivalent to closure. This is something which we have to keep in mind. Is it so? We will discuss that as we go ahead. So why a wound in diabetes needs early closure? More than 50% of diabetic patients in India are between age group of 35 to 55. Patients infected foot ulcers, he spends 50% of his annual income on treatment. Delayed closure is a major morbidity, and it is an economic loss. And delayed mobilization of patient due to chronic foot wound is a huge cardiovascular risk. So reason for delayed closure: polybacterial infection, biofilms, lack of awareness about the primary physicians, application of wound dressing material which is harmful to the wound, and cost of dressing material. So diabetic foot ulcer becomes hard to heal due to biofilm, and you need aggressive management of biofilm, which is a cornerstone of foot salvage procedure. So almost 90% of the foot wounds you will see have some form of a biofilm. And you need to identify this biofilm and go on tracking and treating it very aggressively. So tracking the biofilm is very important. So one of the treatment which is there is, use these sophisticated methods of and these are the reason you get to go into the vicious circle. These are the stall wounds, and because of a metabolic reasons, change in the biology and of the hemorrheology and all the cell biology, the wounds become stationary. These wounds are like a car without a gear. They won't move forward. So you have to kickstart them. And one of the points for kickstarting is to remove that biofilm, because which prevents the antibiotics from reaching there, and it just goes on spreading. Now, how do you diagnose this biofilm clinically? You may be working in a small place and you don't have the facilities for sophisticated investigation. But if you see a grayish whitish film, which forms many times within 12 to 48 hours after your initial debridement, then you are sure that it is a biofilm. At that stage, bedside debridement and using a dressing material which will remove the biofilm, maintain the hydration or moisture in the wound, and help to control the discharge, and then promote the fibroblast migration. Something like that has to be used. just debridement itself will not be sufficient, as this study shows. You need to have something else in addition to debridement. So it's not only dressing material, it is not only debridement, it has to go both in conjunction with each other. And this needs a very aggressive management. You need to have a vascular surgeon or vascular specialist with you. You need to have a good endocrinologist or a diabetologist. You need to have a wound care nursing, which unfortunately does not exist in India on a larger scale. So making wound ready for early closure is the key, and to prevent many complications and morbidity. So as I said, any modality or dressing material with universal availability, accessibility, affordability, coupled with ease of application at home, which can prevent the hospitalization and will be effective against biofilm, will be always used in India when we have millions of patients. So these are strategies of managing diabetic foot ulcers: manage the biomechanics, offloading, method of metabolic control, use modern methods of wound dressing, and biofilm management. So these are the three causes which are for non-healing of the wound. 90 out of 100 times patients are walking on the wound. There is an incorrect vascular assessment or inadequate initial debridement. These are few secondary causes. Out of that, important is the incorrect method of dressing. These are the dressing material which are used widely across India. Right from the medical college, undergraduates are taught to use this. I think this should be completely boycotted as far as the diabetic foot wounds are concerned, because they are damaging. For example, povidone iodine, which is a good antiseptic, but povidone iodine 5%, 10% is very cytotoxic. It releases iodine at a higher concentration rapidly and damages the tissue. Also, what we need to understand is the maintaining the moisture and exudate control, which is not possible with any one of these solutions. So they need to be discarded. The ideal method is that you clean the wound with just normal saline or even a boiled cool water. Use affordable, available dressing material, which is accessible to the patient at every level of healthcare. And the dressing frequency will depend upon the discharge. If you find it is not healing, there is increasing discharge, that means you have missed something. So you have to go ahead and do re-debridement. So this is a time concept of which is a cornerstone of wound bed preparation. So it says that tissue management, inflammation, infection control, moisture control, age epidermal, and now they have added education control. This was a wound bed preparation concept which has been developed by European Wound Management Association sometime in 2008 and 9 to have a global healing of the endogenous endogenous factors in the wounds. And this is a just schematic presentation of wound bed preparation. So remember, dry cell is a dead cell. You need to keep a moisture always in the wound, otherwise the wounds will not heal. If you use the solution, soak a gauze piece and put on the wound in an Indian condition, it will become dry, for that matter anywhere, and it will create a problem. Also, individual patient factor. You have to think of a patient psychology, social isolation, depression, alcohol abuse, smoking, unemployment, inability to work, poor glycemic control, low esteem. These are all affect the wound healing. Though we only look at the wound, these are the things which we need to have. And in any good diabetic foot multidisciplinary team, there has to be at least a paramedic who is trained in psychological assessment, or you should have a psychologist who will help the patient to overcome all these. So you need a home wound care. This is a team of dressers which we have for the last 35 years in Raheja Hospital, who go home and do dressing. So we can discharge the patient on 5th and 6th day and follow up every 2-3 weeks. And this is the only course of diabetic foot assistant in whole India in Amruta Institute. Mind you, these are not the nurses. They are only 7th or 8th standard pass, or few of them are SSC passed boys and girls who are trained for 18 months. And they can do all this work which normally is done by the doctors, including assisting in a complicated surgery like Charcot fixation. So I would just like to add 2-3 more things. These are few researches which have come up in an animal experiment, which shows that, see, this is a common experience of most of the doctors who do diabetic foot work, is that they do the debridement, and again after some time there is a slough forms and it requires a repeat debridement. In addition to the cost and problem, hospitalization, delay in the discharge, this is one methodology where you can subject the age of the debrided wound to immunohistochemistry, and you have these two immunohistochemistry factors called beta-catenin and C-MyC. If you see them in the immunohistochemistry slides, then your debridement is inadequate. So this can be used like a frozen section in the operation theater side room, where you can immediately go ahead and debride the wound. So this is something which will come in a near future. So this is a schematic presentation of that. This is another animal experiment which have shown that diabetic rats are deficient in a factor called SDF1 alpha, and that is why the wounds don't heal and hyperbaric doesn't work. This is again an experience which we see always, that few patients get good benefit with hyperbaric, few patients don't get any benefit. This may be the answer, where it was shown that if this HD1 alpha was injected in the diabetic rats, the wounds rapidly heal. So this may come in a near future in a clinical science. So this is schematic representation. Now this is about the UrgoClean AG, which is one of the agents and the material which can, as I said, in addition to debridement, help you in removing the biofilm, and it will rapidly remove the biofilm and keep the wound environment optimal. So this is a schematic representation how it works. And these are two cases. You can see that there was a necrotic tissue and the wound slowly granulated over the period of about 18-19 days. So you can see these results were observed in such a short time. We have the experience of wounds not healing for months. So the cost may be a factor, availability may be a factor, accessibility factor, but I suppose Urgo will take care of that to make it available across India to the last mile possible. And the cost is of course relative. How do you reduce the healing time and keep the patient mobile is something which is the concept which is coming up now. This is again another case where you have this necrotic wound. In addition to debridement, when you apply this UrgoClean AG, it shows a good healing. So such material like UrgoClean AG need to be made available not only in the metro cities, but tier 2 cities and even lower down, because number of patients of diabetic foot infection in a rural area is very high. Just to give you an example, about 20 years back, the incidence of diabetes in the rural area was about 2 to 3%. Now it has increased to 8 to 10%. So you can imagine how many number of patients will be there. So these are the results of the case 2. And this is this Urgo Medical. You can access this details of this material and how it functions on the Urgo website. And I think Pratik and Emilo will guide you along with Ashwiti to access this website. So last part of this presentation, footwear examination. Footwear like this are very good looking, very fancy, very bad for diabetes. You can see the narrow toe box, which is likely to cause damage. The next point I would like to make in short time is that this is a very popular footwear in India called Hawaii footwear, or it is called abroad flip-flops. So see, the patient is sitting. The moment patient starts walking, it's holding it so tightly because of a intrinsic muscle weakness. So either the web space gets injured with a blisters, or the toe become deformed early. So this is something which is very damaging to the patient. So this should not be encouraged. Also, we need to teach our physician this dictum, because I find that most of the physicians always advise the patient walk briskly for 45 minutes to control the blood sugar without checking the level of neuropathy. Anybody for more than grade 1 neuropathy, if he walks and crosses this forefoot pressure of 500 to 700 kilopascal, you will immediately find that the patients complaining that foot becomes red in the evening. They get a burning sensation on the forefoot. So this is a dictum. Faster the gait, higher the pressure, longer the stride, higher the pressure. So you need to teach them the distance not in kilometers, but in a minutes. There's no rule that they have to walk non-stop 45 minutes. They can walk for 15 minutes, sit for 5 minutes, walk or walk in other sessions. Or patient with these conditions, these exercise should not be done. Their exercise schedule has to be changed, but only after this is possible only when if you check the neuropathy level. So adequate and proper understanding of diabetic peripheral neuropathy, altered biomechanics is essential for preventing higher level amputation. Diabetic foot patients are vulnerable, and these are the three causes of vulnerability: neuropathy, immunopathy, altered biomechanics. You have very narrow window of opportunity to treat them aggressively. As of today, we don't do that, and we miss this window of opportunity because we have this unwritten policy: no complaint, no examination. By the time patient starts complaining of the foot problem, it is too late. So diabetic foot is a Cinderella of medicine as far as Southeast Asia is concerned. As I said earlier, Indian diabetic foot infected patients spend 50% of their income on treatment. These are the 10 commandments of diabetic foot care which we teach the patients, and I think patient takes this care, he is unlikely to get into problem. You need to have a preventive diabetic foot clinics. These are the clinics set up by Diabetic Foot Society of India along with World Diabetes Foundation about 14 years back in 4 public sector hospitals managed purely by the paramedics. So you have acute coronary units, you have a stroke units, you need a acute comprehensive diabetic foot units because time is a tissue. More time you lose, more tissue is going to be lost, and there is difficult to save the foot. And you need to have a concept of toe and flow. Every small wound also you need to check the circulation. So rapid and complete closure of the wound is essential because you need to maintain activity and mobility, which is equivalent to longevity. The studies done in Georgetown University, in European centers, in Amruta Institute shows that more the patient is wheelchair bound or activity restricted, he has a high chance of cardiovascular mortality. So also one point which I'd like to stress is that we can never cure diabetic foot ulcer in a sense of this word. It's not like a hernia, hydrocele and appendix, as I said. So because once you tell the patient you are cured of the foot ulcer, he will not come back for follow-up. He will not do what is preventive care. So cure is equivalent to remission. We need to bring in the concept of 5-year ulcer-free survival and make sure our patients come repeatedly, regularly for follow-up, because as I said, this is not going to end. In spite of obesity surgery and all data, diabetes never goes. Many patients have a neuropathy and diabetes is just controlled. So early detection and protection of high pressure area and corrective footwear is the only strategy when you have millions of patients. And minimum you should do is don't allow the patient to walk on the wounds, otherwise they literally walk to death. What you don't need only is the sensitive pair of hands and the eyes to prevent the foot loss. And I'd like to end this part of a presentation by showing you this very famous Sanskrit saying, which means one who walks his fortune marches ahead. We want all these millions of patients' fortunes to march ahead. So we need to keep them walking. The next part of my presentation is about challenges in COVID-19 pandemic for diabetic foot treatment. So challenges are very many. You have shortage of beds routinely. You have inadequate trained staff and for the DFU treatment, lack of transport for the patient. There is a huge fear complex. There is a financial issues. Many patients have lost their job. Inadequate ICU beds are there. Issues of post-operative care are there. You can't just keep the patient in the hospital for post-operative care. Inadequate telemedicine facilities in rural area. There is a delay in treatment. Many times patients, because of a fear, don't come for the treatment. Increase higher level amputation we have observed over last 6 months. Also, we have observed increased mortality in the patients who get bedridden because they cannot reach the doctors, or they are afraid of coming to hospital and just keep on doing dressing and suffer some cardiovascular problem. So what are the measures to improve the outcome? Optimizing hospitalization. I think if you can do the COVID test on an outpatient basis or outside, admit the patient. What we are doing in Raheja Hospital is that we do the test, admit the patient one day, operate next day. Within 48 hours, we discharge them and call them for follow-up every 4 or 5 days, instead of keeping them in a hospital, which increases the cost and increases in the current environment in city of Bombay the chance of infection, because this almost a community spread. So home care, we many times teach the patients relative to do dressing or put a vac, helping decongest the ICUs. So if you remove the patients in from the ward, it always creates a bed. You have to prevent the loss of limb and the life. Triage facilities have to be there. I think some patients can be managed with a physical triage, or with a telemedicine triage you can do it. And I will show you in next few slides the evidence about telemedicine and digital photography. And diabetic foot treatment is not elective. See, this is one problem which we are facing over last 6 months. People feel this is not an emergency like a myocardial infarct or cesarean section or fractures or road traffic accident. I think it is much worse than that, because all those other patients can survive with a conservative, partly surgical treatment, but these patients cannot survive. If you don't give them a treatment, they are going to die. So that is why I said there is an increased mortality. So they are not an elective patient, but they are essential and emergency treatment patients. That is how we have to look at them. Also, we need to understand and counsel the patient that surgical treatment of COVID positive patient has a high mortality. Some of the European centers have shown that mortality in COVID positive patient is almost 30%. So counseling the patients through telemedicine for good preventive care, and in case of an emergency surgery for possible morbidity and mortality. This is very important, because even a simple below knee amputation with a COVID positive patient can cause tremendous problems. So this is very important to keep in mind. So you see this sort of a patients we are seeing for last 6 months who nothing can be done because they delayed the treatment or they could not access the treatment, and then they had to undergo higher level amputation. And that is why the Diabetic Foot Society of India have published this guideline based on a international working group guidelines. So you have to have classification of this green, yellow, orange, red, and any patient having this sort of symptoms, even if he doesn't complain and you observe them, has to be immediately taken for as a COVID positive patient. And management of a patient without active wounds. Patient may be having pain which is ischemic or which is neuropathic. You can have a acute ischemia, or you can have a chronic ischemia. Acute ischemia, you need to have a urgent treatment in the hospital. Chronic ischemia, you can treat with a conservative treatment. It's a neuropathic pain, then it's very easy to treat. So this sort of a triage on a telemedicine can be easily done. So these are IWGD guidelines, and they are accessible on the website. So these are the different grades which are given in the IDF guidelines. So management of patients with a wound in COVID times, these as far as guidelines of IDSA class 1, what you need is a foot care advice. For class 2, you need a mild infection, you need oral antibiotic foot care advice. For class 3 and 4, moderate and severe infections, you require a diabetic foot specialist, consult in person in clinic, and then take the patient for further treatment. And patient with features of sepsis should be referred to ICU straight away. And these are the tabular, same thing what I showed you just now. These are already published. They are available on the Diabetic Foot Society's website. We have published them sometime in April, these guidelines based on that. So telecommunication, teleconsultation, you can have that. But the most important is that you should have a good digital photograph. And this is one just example. This sort of a photograph, you can't make out anything. You need a very clear photograph with a proper lighting. Then only you can do that. With a foot photo from all the sides, then only you can have some sort of a proper idea of the foot care, and along with other reports, you can still triage this patient online. So this is one paper which was published about telemedicine, and you can follow this presentation. I think I have already shared with Ashwati, so she can give it to you. Also, there is a recommendation for surgery during novel coronavirus. This is another document, which is Chinese document. Then this is the American College of Surgeons local resumption of elective surgery guidelines, which are there available. So how can you start a elective surgery like a Charcot foot slowly if you follow these guidelines, which are available again on the website. Then this is a wound care stakeholders document. So these are various documents for a treatment of wound care or diabetic foot ulcers published by various organizations, and you can again access that. Similarly, King's College Hospital, which is one of the major centers in the Europe, has published this document for NHS. This is another journal of American Podiatry Association, where this is available. These are references which you can follow them. I think Ashwati can share this PPT with everybody. I have no objection in sharing this PPT. So thank you for patient listening. I hope I have not exceeded my timing, but it was a bit hurried. Sorry for going very fast.
That was absolutely amazing, Doctor. I'm sure that we wish we had more time, because the information you shared was absolutely phenomenal. What I suggest is that if anybody has questions, please write them up in the chat, so that the doctor can answer to us. I can start with one question, Doctor. We know that neuropathic patients are robbed from the protective gift of pain. One of the biggest difficulties is how to explain to a patient that he cannot feel pain again. So how do you suggest that you make a patient understand that what they used to feel before is not there anymore?
See, the simple way to what I tell the patient is that we check their pain sensation with a simple common pin, and we show them on the upper part of the leg and on the plantar aspect. If they feel above the ankle and there's a difference between plantar and above the ankle leg, it is very obvious. Second group of patients themselves come saying that their slippers are coming out. They can't feel the floor. So they are advanced neuropathy. See, unfortunately, in a country like India and across Southeast Asia, you find that, regular assessment of the lower limb annually is very, very rare, even in the most advanced center also, because patients don't have this concept like oncology for a regular follow-up. So that's why I always insist that you should not tell the patients that you are cured of everything.
Yeah.
I don't think there is any cure for diabetic foot. It's a progressive disease. It's like you can say that you are in a remission for oncology patients. You can say you are in a remission. The remission will depend upon how well the patient takes care of his diabetes, how well he takes care of his feet and other comorbidities like hypertension, nephropathy, everything.
Yeah, exactly. I can refer to many publications that our dear colleague, Dr. David Armstrong,
Yeah.
where he's always, I think he was one of the first people that started telling everybody, you know, DFU is like a cancer. We don't heal from it, we are in remission. And it's a huge problem for our patients that they need to understand.
Yeah.
Dr. Sanjeev Upal is also asking if there are any guidelines on how to set up a diabetic foot center or a diabetic foot lab.
So these guidelines are available on Diabetic Foot Society's website. If you go on a website, there is a section called Knowledge Bank. So you can download, there are a lot of presentation books and, you know, Diabetic Foot Society has published the books and guidelines. Apart from this COVID guidelines, other guidelines, we keep on updating them. All these are available there on the website. You can download and use them.
Another thing that we know, Doctor, is that the incidence and prevalence of the neuroischemic diabetic foot ulcers is on the increase. May be due that we are more aware of it now and we are testing more for ischemia. What I would like you to talk to the doctors about is the importance of checking for the healability of the wound and how you treat the difference between non-healable and healable wounds.
Yeah, see, I did not include that part here because of the shortage of time, but the standard practice, as I said, is that every patient's ankle brachial index must be done once a year. Normal index is 0.9 to 1.1 or 1.2. If you are doing annual index initially, and if you find that it is coming down from 9.9 to 0.8, that is a time to do a duplex Doppler to see whether there are any plaques forming. Put the patient on antiplatelets or drugs like silastazole, which is supposed to increase the collateral circulation. And these patients then need a frequent follow-up. They need a counseling for comorbidities, smoking, alcohol abuse, activity control, change in the exercise schedule, and also regular follow-up. If the index is sliding down, then you need to keep them every 6 months, every 3 months follow-up. Also warn them for numbness, for pain, don't apply any hot water fomentation, ice packs, infrared lamps, ointments and solutions shown on TV or social media, all these are you know, I firmly believe that formal education has no relation to the awareness about diabetic foot. We have had people who are, you know, directors of multinational companies applying hot water to the leg. Also people applying leeches to the leg by MD physicians and also. I don't think that has any relevance. So you must take every patient, however formally highly educated, as an illiterate as far as diabetic foot awareness is concerned. But regular vascular checkup, neuropathy checkup once a year, and then as frequently as necessary, is the cornerstone of preventing loss of limb.
Definitely, amen to that, doctor. In diabetic patients, because of the calcification, do you suggest that we do more the TCPO2 or the toe brachial index rather than the ABPI? What is your view in that?
We do TCPO2 too, but availability of TCPO2 in India is very less. For example, in a city of Bombay, only 4 or 5 centers have TCPO2, and these are the centers who have a hyperbaric oxygen. So they keep the TCPO2. Even toe brachial index, for that what you require a special Doppler probe is not easily available. So there is a toe brachial index which you can see on a plethysmograph. So that is, of course, is a gold standard TCPO2 or toe brachial index. So if it is available, that helps you in diagnosing early ischemia.
Yeah, a Rolls-Royce is an excellent car, but not everybody has it. So if there are no questions from the audience, maybe we can ask you to do the closing remarks and the takeaway home messages to our dear audience.
See, my takeaway message is that there are 3-4 basic messages, mainly for the physicians. See, diabetic foot patient doesn't reach the surgeons unless there is a problem, or he doesn't reach a specialized diabetic foot clinic unless he has a problem. So that avoiding the problem is in the hands of physicians or endocrinologists or diabetologists. So they need to check a simple filament test once a year, or do what is known as a Ipswich touch test, which doesn't need a filament, or teach the relatives to do Ipswich touch test, motivate patient to take a foot care. And the most important, as I said, is that don't ingrain in their patient's mind that they have to walk kilometers and kilometers for controlling the blood sugar. I think you need to, follow walking, but only after checking the neuropathy level. By the time patient says that he is getting numbness, it is too late. So, many physicians I find are doing nerve conduction studies, and all those are not necessary. You can just do a filament test and teach the patient basic foot care. If that is done and foot is examined at every follow-up visit, then I think the incidence of diabetic foot ulcer and work for a surgeon like me will be almost more than half reduced.
Yeah, maybe out of business never, but very much reduced. Thank you so very much for sharing your knowledge with us. If we had patients who are referred early, as you said, that 85% of preventable amputations will definitely will be greatly reduced.
Yeah, I think.
Yes.
Sorry. Another thing is that this UrgoClean AG, I think it should be made available on a wider scale. Because the concept now coming up over the last 2-3 years, as I said, one study we have done in Amruta Institute in 2017-18, study done in Georgetown University by Dr. Attinger and John Steinberg, shows that, if you mobilize the patient with a faster closing of the wound by whatever means, whether surgical or medical dressing material, and they are mobile, it increases the lifespan. More they are offload or activity reduction. I think from that point of view, material like this, the cost I think is relative, because if you heal the wound, the cost will scale.
Definitely. Thank you very much. Pratik, I don't know if you want to close the session.
We will have our colleague Ganesh closing the session, but thank you once again, Dr. Bal, on behalf of everyone at Urgo Medical. And indeed, we are very glad to bring this solution to patients in diabetic foot ulcers all over India.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that brilliant presentation. It was really enlightening. Ganesh, could you please take over?
Yeah, thank you, Pratik. Yeah, I would like to thank Dr. Arun Bal for this excellent presentation on DFU. I especially would like to thank Dr. Sudatta Waghmare and Nair Hospital Surgery Department team for taking this initiative. Because of Dr. Sudatta Waghmare, he pushed me and we have arranged this workshop. And I would like to thank our whole team, everyone, for making this webinar successful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pratik. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you. Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you very much to all the audience.
Yes.